I love chaos. I love disorder. And I'll tell you why. It may sound counterintuitive, but only with disorder and chaos can you come and create something meaningful and value. Life is nothing but a collection of short stories. And so when I create these short stories in my career, I go in there, there's a messy situation, I create value and I leave. And I can look back and fondly say, you know what? I was part of the solution.
The Wise Ones is a community-driven podcast which has leading operators, subject matter experts, founders, and VCs interview each other to reveal insights into how they built and scaled their products, businesses, software, and how they brought their ideas to life. In today's episode, we're diving into the chaotic world of tech startups with a true industry veteran, Arvinder Gujral. Arvi has worked across telecom, social media, and SaaS with companies like Infosys, Twitter, and Wati.
To get started, your career is amazing. I mean, you've spanned a whole range of tech sectors. You've worked in telecom and social media and SaaS. I'd love to know what led you down that journey. Like, what is the story that connects all those pieces?
Well, my career is a great story for things you should not do in a career. Like I've jumped around so many sectors. I've gone around different continents, working in the US, in India, in Singapore. Traveling a fair bit with the work I've done. So I think the only thing that probably I would say that connects all of them is I'm pretty restless by nature. So I can't sit still and sit on my laurels. I've done pretty well in a few of my jobs, I have to say. In some, I could have done better. But I don't think I have that bone in me that says, you know what, you've done well, now chill. I just feel ants in my pants kind of a syndrome. And so I'm like, all right, what's the next big thing happening? All right, let's do it. So I keep jumping. And I don't know why I have taken this to heart. I read a comment somewhere where someone wiser than me said, to jump at the right opportunity, keep jumping. And I've been jumping 25 years now. So.
Are you tired of jumping?
No, it keeps me young. All the white hair on my beard, but it keeps me young.
And so I love the way you're framing it, because I do wonder then how that influences how you approach things. Like, how do you, does it influence how you approach growth or go to market strategies? So how do you apply that jumping to what you do?
No, so for me, even like when I'm looking at new opportunities and I'm talking to new founders and I'm trying to do different kinds of collaborations, like Wisely is one such collaboration, and I'm sitting on a board of a few companies. I'm an advisor to a lot of startups. I've invested in a fair bit as well. I think for me, and it's just me because everybody's so unique to themselves, I love chaos. I love disorder. And I'll tell you why. It may sound counterintuitive, but only with disorder and chaos can you come and create something meaningful and value, right? If you're going to if it's a perfect Mona Lisa painting out there, you won't even put a dot on it because you want to spoil it, right? Yeah. Give me something messy, and that gives me the opportunity to do something that is valuable so I can look back and say, you know what, I did that. And you feel proud. And life is nothing but a collection of short stories. And so when I create these short stories in my career, I go in there, there's a messy situation, I create value and I leave. And I can look back and fondly say, you know what, I was part of the solution. Not me alone, but usually it's always a team that does it. But at least I was part of the journey that we went and solved this problem statement in that organization. And that's what I look for when I look for something new and exciting. That there is, and people have come back saying, oh, that means you only want to work with, very early stage startups. And I counter that saying, actually, no. You could be, even Google today is trying to operate like a startup because they have been getting their, backsides kicked, being a little slow on the AI bandwagon. They missed the social bandwagon completely, right? So you could be, if you're listening to this podcast, and you could be working in a large company as an executive, and you're like, oh, only in a startup can you do A, B, and C, but in a large company, you can't do those things. Your hands are tied. I actually disagree. You can operate like a startup inside a large organization. It's basically your mental map and how you bring that energy to the plate. And if people around you see that you are full of infectious energy and you want to bring, you want to change things. Maybe there are some organizations which will not allow that change. And I completely understand, but most will. They want to see somebody be a change maker and, create a new trajectory of growth every company, no matter how large or how small it is, appreciates growth. Growth in a human being, growth in revenue, growth in EBITDA, growth in learning, growth in outcomes. So if you are that person and you're known to be that growth driver, you can't have a better tag to your resume than that. And then that's what I've been looking at doing. And that's how I evaluate new opportunities, new investments that I'm making, that are these people solving something? And more importantly, is the people I'm associating with have that drive to, just insane drive to growth. Like, I'm going to make it happen. And sometimes it's just that human potential that is much larger than the potential of the product that you bring to the market.
Wisely is an AI-powered knowledge platform that helps experts organize, scale, and monetize their knowledge.
And everything you were saying reminds me of product market fit, because a lot of times people say, I've achieved product market fit, but you've never achieved it because you may have gotten it on that specific day, but something could happen tomorrow. And your strategy may need to pivot because of a competitor, because of a new technology. And so the industry that we're in, technology is never quiet. It's never stable. The only constant is change. And so I love the mindset that you're approaching things from, because you've got to be accepting of the chaos, because it's just the industry that we're in.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know who said this, maybe Steve Jobs, maybe too many quotes attributed to Steve Jobs, but maybe he said this or somebody else. Only the paranoid survive, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to be paranoid. I'm like, you have to, because you don't know what you don't know. What your competitor is doing, what the market is doing, what the policymakers are doing, those are out of your control.
Right.
So you have to assume things that might not fall in line with what your expectation is of the market. And then you don't usually have time to react. So you need to have playbooks in space that if something else happens, this is what I'm going to do. Or maybe you don't do. I mean, you need to at least have a thoughtful decision about why you will not react to certain things, because you don't have to always react to something, because that might not be the wise decision. So hence, but only if you're paranoid are you always thinking of scenarios that might not play to your game plan. And it's like a sports thing, right? I mean, if you can't control what your opposition does, but you can control what you do. But don't sit on a laurels thinking, I have thought it through and I'm done. No, because something else is always burning. So you need a plan A and a B and a C and a D, and you have many plans in place.
Right. Totally. And I'm curious if you came to this realization like early in your career, because I know you were at Aircell early on. How did you approach early in your career versus what you just shared right now?
So I think early in my career, let me go back to my first job was in advertising. When I was an executive in an ad agency in India, a multinational ad agency. I worked there for a year, completely slogged my ass. I mean, it was the greatest learning experience. Being a management trainee in an ad agency in India, you don't go to, out of the 52 weekends, only 2 weekends I had off, right? It was absolutely ruthless, but it was the most learning I've had. I mean, after that role, there has been no job in my life which I have found tough or demanding enough. It was baptism by fire. And I actually appreciate that looking back, not at then, because I fainted in office twice. I was so stressed out. But after that, I went and worked for Infosys. I mean, I realized that if I stay here any longer, I'm going to die a very young death. I'm going to have a cardiac arrest in office. And I don't want to die too young. I moved to Infosys, and there I discovered my own feet, and I had a really good time. I was 30 under 30. I did pretty well. I got acknowledged. I moved to the US with Infosys. And then I would say immaturity of decision-making. I skipped a few roles after that. I left Infi very early after moving to the US, and I joined a small startup and didn't really work out, which happens all the time. Startups don't always work out. Moved to another IT services company, went into sales, and decided that I'm sitting in California for the last 3 years, and I'm working in IT offshore companies. I'm like, why am I not working on product companies? So I pivoted. So I said, you know what? I'm going to work for a product company. And when you're an Indian having no US education, American companies were not too like, I have too many Americans to hire. Why am I going to hire this Indian dude? So I work for an Indian product company. All right, that's fine. At least I'm going to work for an internet product company in the Bay Area. And that for me was an amazing learning experience. So I ended up working in product and sales and global distribution of an app. I had not done any of these things before. Again, learning by fire. Almost in every job I've done, I've done it for the first time in my first 10 years of my career. And so now I look back, and those are the building blocks of giving me the confidence that I can go and tackle any problem, because I've gone and solved such discrete problems early in my career that I was never trained for. And it is hence I have that confidence that you know what, I don't care if tomorrow you say, Arvi, can you go and sell soaps in Kenya? I have no idea of CPG and how soap retail distribution happens. I'll figure it out. You're smart enough, you'll figure out the value chain and where you sit and how you play and what are the movers and the shakers and how do you operate the ecosystem there. Yeah. Then I made a thoughtful decision. I was in California for about 7+ years, and we had our first child, and family plays a very important role in how your career shapes up. So never discount what your family's up to. And our first child, and my wife was like, you know what? It's not easy bringing a child just by ourselves in the US, no help, no family. It's tough. And we decided to move back to India. And that is then I joined Aircel. So I had a few offers in hand, and most of them were startup offers. Aircel and then was also a startup telecom operator. And India has about 28 circles or states. Any state needs to give you a telco license. Aircel had a single state license, but they had already applied and received award for the national license. So they needed someone to work on their innovation team. So I joined Aircel. I worked there for close to 5 years. I ended up heading the entire internet and data business, close to $100 million book of business. And that for me was another, I had never worked for a telco before, right? So here I am, having been away from India for 7 years, come back and work for a telecom operator selling telco data plans to Indians across all strata of society. And if you look at the Indian society, the pyramid is very sharp. The top of the pyramid is very narrow. So you have about, at that time, there was just a handful of few million people who could afford high net worth individuals who could afford a postpaid plan, which we use nowadays. But 99% of the population was using a prepaid plan. And they were topping up only 100 rupees every top up, which is about $1 plus. So can you imagine on that balance in the telco, they only have just above $1, and you're trying to sell voice, data, and other products that telco is selling, video solutions. And I'm like, the guy doesn't have any balance. How do you sell all that? So for me, it was baptism again by fire. I'm like, how do you sell to a country which is so disparate in their economic and social strata across? And, so for me, that was again an amazing learning experience. So I got connected to India in a very fast manner. And again, look at how career shapes up. I didn't think about I'm leaving Aircel. Opportunistically, one of the meetings I had was a startup called Twitter. And they came saying, you know what, we are looking at doing partnerships in India. And Twitter was a small startup then. Nobody had heard of it in Asia. I was using Twitter in a personal capacity because so I knew what it was. But nobody knew about it was. In India, there were no users. They're like, you know what, do a partnership with us. It'll be fruitful for you. I'm like, nobody uses you. How is it fruitful for a telco to promote you towards subscribers? We had about 50 million subscribers. Like, why should I promote you to my subscribers? What is in it for me? So anyways, it was a very good conversation. Didn't end up doing any partnership with them. And every telco executive globally goes to this thing called the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. It's like the mecca for telco execs. So I was there as usual, and this is Feb 2013. And I ended up meeting the Twitter folks there. Finished that meeting to discuss, and I basically, it was just a good conversation about how to operate in India, how was the market shaping up, how the data plan. India had just launched 3G at that point of time. So how's 3G? How is rest of Asia doing? So we had just a free-flowing discussion. Come back home a week later, HR calls me on Twitter. We would like to make you an offer. Would you be interested in joining Twitter? I refused. I refused because they were looking for an IC. I said, you know what? Now I had a collar up in I'm a manager. I have $100 million book of business. I have 30 people in my team. This is an IC role. You have no budget. Asia is not even critical for you guys. What am I going to do here? I said, no. They went back. 3 months later, they come back saying, Arvi, we would really like to talk to you. And so I ended up going to San Francisco. I had a wonderful conversation with the folks at Twitter, and I ended up joining Twitter as the first employee for Twitter in India in July 2013. And so you can see, and the reason I'm sharing this thing is just that I didn't plan any of this. Like, honestly, and I don't think many people plan their careers in a way that you look back and it's a nice narrative, right? But honestly, when I was looking forward, I don't even know what's going to forget that. I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm 25 years into this thing. So life is just takes you. But as long as you create some framework in which you want to operate. So I was very clear. I love growth stories, as I told you. I love chaos. So I didn't want to come back to India and work for a very large company and have inconsequential role. So I joined a startup telecom operator. It grew. I grew with them. I had a great visibility, and I did that. Twitter was again a very small company. It grew. I grew with them. I was there for 8 years. I joined them pre-IPO, and you saw the success of the company. You also grew in your own career. And that for me has been my defining part of my career. If I look back now, the thing that connects all of these companies, I joined Infosys. Infosys is a very small company. Infosys grew. I grew with it. I did well for myself. So across almost every successful stint I've had, those companies, when I joined them, were smaller. When I left them, they were larger. Again, this is not causation or correlation that they grew only because of me. I was a small pawn in a very large pond. But when an organization grows, your career automatically, organically grows with that the growth of the organization. So I was lucky enough to join a few companies which grew, and I grew with them, but I joined them at very early stage. So that risk-taking ability to say yes to something which is unproven, and I've had some wrong, I've made some mistakes as well, like a couple of places I joined in California, but didn't really work out, right? And so I would say, for me, that is the thing that connects across my LinkedIn profile. If you look at it, the thing that connects it is that I've joined thoughtfully, that I don't want to join a large organization, and I want to join and I help them grow to the extent that I can contribute in my capacity. And if it works out, great for both of us. If it doesn't, I'll go into the next adventure.
It's interesting when you talk about growth, because essentially you're building your go-to-market, your approach to how you develop your career. So based on what you've said, how do you apply that back to the companies that you're at? They're small, they want to grow. How do you apply, what motivates you to help the companies grow?
So, when you look at GTM and you're looking at a startup, right? And I do consulting with a fair number of startups now on GTM. I just go to first principles. Like, I have two tenets in life. I'm usually the most stupid person in the room, and I'm always the laziest person in the room, right? What that makes me do is that when somebody comes and makes a very complex presentation, I said, I don't understand anything you're saying. Dumb it down to me that a child can understand. And the minute you do that, they have to cut the fluff out and come to the bare bones of what they really want to say. Because if you can't explain it in a sentence, you really don't have a strategy, right? And then I say, I'm lazy. So don't give me something that is long-winded, that's going to happen far distant in the future, and has too many steps, and I need too many departments to come in, and I need so much support, too many variables in play. I'm lazy. What is the fastest way to the frictionless growth that you can give me, which is more in my control? Okay, then we strip away all the extra layers of fat that, product needs to do this, HR needs to do that, blah, blah, blah needs to do, marketing has to give me the qualified leads. And I strip away that. What is in your control from a GTM perspective that you can deliver without assuming none of these exist? And then you get a strategy which is simple and executable. Yes, tomorrow when marketing gives you additional qualified leads, product gives you something more to do an expansion revenue. Life becomes a lot easier. But assume if they are not there, what is your strategy then, right? So I usually use the tenets of being the laziest person, the stupidest person in the room, and I go with that as the first principle. So when I talk to a founder or of a startup, like, let's define a GTM. Like, I'll give you an example. There was a startup that came to me saying, we have a problem statement. I said, what's a problem statement? They said, our problem statement is we think we need to hire a sales ops person. I said, okay, that's not a problem statement. That's an ask. So why do you think you need a sales ops person? Because we don't have a repeatable sales process. I said, okay, why do you not have a repeatable sales process? I don't know. Only when I, the founder, am in the room, I'm closing the deals. When my salespeople are in the room, they're not closing the deals till I come in the room. I said, okay, what kind of opportunities are you pursuing? I ended up spending a few weeks with the founder. We ended up realizing they don't need a sales ops person. They have three people sales team. I said, why do you need sales ops for a 3 people sales team? You really don't need a sales ops person. So when we did first principles, we realized that they have a product market fit problem. And when I say product market fit, again, there are two things in that very important: product and market. Usually the founder knows the product well. The problem is the market. The market is where they get diluted. But what is the real market for me? And so this was in the travel industry, a revenue management software company. And we realized very quickly that they are just spraying and praying. And hence when the salespeople are going for the meetings, they're meeting people who are not really their ICP. And so if you're not meeting your ICP, you're not going to convert them. So it is not that, and when the founder is coming in the room, he's usually coming in the room because they are getting in front of an ICP, right? So that, when you just keep stripping back the layers and asking the whys, you realize that the most fundamental question of GTM actually starts with what is the product and who are you building it for? And what is the pain you're solving? Do not go to GTM till you have answered these questions with full honesty. GTM is an after effect of answering these questions. What happens usually, and this is what I've seen a lot of founders do a mistake, they have done that 0 to 1 journey by themselves where the founder-led revenue has come in, which has shown good traction. They'll get some VC to put some seed money, a few $1 million. All right, you've proven yourself. Here is a $3 million check. Now do a 1 to 10 journey. And that's where things fall apart. Why does it fall apart? Because the founder has now realized that, okay, I have done this. I can do it now with 10 other people I've hired in sales. Suppose you're doing enterprise products, right? What will you do? You will hire a VP of sales, will hire an SDR team and an AE team and an AM team. You have a standard sales playbook, right? If you're a PLG product, then you will go hire a data science person. You'll hire someone into the product team. You'll hire a kick-ass marketing and growth person who will drive all these leads. You will do online demos, right? Again, two distinct playbooks. The problem is the founder will come from one background. Either they will come from the enterprise sales background or they'll come from a PLG background. Whatever they know most, they will apply. And that is the problem statement. So what they do is before they really understand the PMF, product market fit, they've applied the GTM motion already. And then they realize that this is not working out. And then you strip back saying, actually, you should not have applied the GTM motion. First, really validate your product market fit. And till you do that, and if your product, the value prop of your product is the reason why a product is being bought, and if the customer is not churning, and if you're over a year old as a company, if the customer you have retained has not expanded, you don't have a PMF. It's an easy way of telling whether you have a PMF. If you are a startup with over a year and you have a customers who have been over a year with you, that's great. So you have managed churn to some extent. But if they have not expanded, you don't have PMF. You will get churned out at some point of time. So usually I found that this has been a disbalance between PMF and GTM. GTM comes earlier because it's an easy thing to stick on something. I know how to do GTM. Everybody knows how to do GTM. It's a very easy playbook. You can copy from anywhere. But the problem is putting that before the PMF happens.
Yeah. And you're reminding me you have some basic first principles from a product perspective, because you can't skip that discovery. You can't just leap over that to defining what the product is. You need to understand what the actual customer is, as you said, defining the ideal customer profile. But you do that by being able to iterate and seeing which customers actually, I love Sean Ellis's, product market fit. It's like, what are the customers? Ideally, as you said, the 40% of the customers who'd be extremely disappointed, very disappointed if they couldn't continue using your product. And then, like you said, you hone in on that area and then continue to find people like that, figure out what their needs are, and it essentially can grow from there. But I like it because it defines back to your foundational career. Take those steps, but keep hopping to get to where you want to go. You can't just skip all the steps.
Absolutely. And one of the crazy things that I see, and I don't blame founders for this, but it is going to happen to every founder, no matter how amazing you are. You think you have found PMF. You have raised some money. Now you have a marketing head. You've told the marketing head, get me leads, right? Every marketing head, get me leads. Marketing qualified leads, sales accepted leads, sales qualified leads. That's the journey. The minute and let's say you are an enterprise software company, right? You're like, I'm enterprise. So that means you're a high ACV product, right?
And ACV is, sorry?
Average contract value, right? Okay. So the minute you assume, let's assume you're a high tech, deep tech enterprise software like Snowflake, right? selling a high average contract value, annual contract value to a customer, like 80K, 100K a year. So it's a good size revenue per customer per year.
Right.
The minute you open your marketing funnel,
yeah,
your ICP will walk in, but others who are next to the ICP will also walk into the funnel.
Yeah.
If you're an early stage founder who has just done a seed, you're not going to tell those 70% of the people who are not your ICP, say, walk out. You're hungry. You need revenue. Right. You will service them. And that is where your dilution of ICP happens. Because you will not have the capacity to segment ICP versus non-ICP, because you don't have the signals early enough.
Yeah.
Two, even if you realize that after you're talking to them, this is not my true ICP, right? And they don't want an 80K per year. They will be more a 20K a year customer.
Right. Understand. And it sounds like you've got great knowledge around, how to approach, the ideal customer profile and the product market fit. I'm curious, are those facets that you learned at Twitter, or are they facets that you learned after Twitter? Because I think you did an amazing build of Twitter. Then how did you apply that knowledge to your next adventure? Or you can flip the question, what did you not apply to your next adventure?
Great question, because it's again, when I finished my Twitter journey in 2021, I was 22 years into my career then, I had another pivot. I went and joined another small seed stage startup called Vati. And it is a product-led growth SaaS company. I have never done PLG in my life. I had not done SaaS before in my life. Twitter is not a SaaS company. Twitter is basically ad sales. It's a very different business model, right? And so for me, the learning of SaaS has all happened in the last 2 to 3 years. Yeah. But because I've worked with these amazing founders at Vati, and I was heading everything from outside of engineering and product, I was able to see up close and personal all the things that go right and the things more and a lot more of the things that go wrong when you open a marketing funnel, right? So all this is from pure experience that I'm telling you about how a marketing funnel actually, when you open it up and all kind of leads that walk in. And I'll give you an example. Snowflake is an enterprise software company.
Yep.
Over 65% of the revenues comes from non-enterprise customers, mid-market and SMB. So now you tell me, now, Snowflake is obviously a very large organization today, right? So forget that. Imagine Snowflake was a $1 million ARR company, right? At some point in time, they were a $1 million ARR company. They opened a marketing funnel, and they're targeting enterprises, but you have startups who also want to use that product coming in. Now, you have hired salespeople at $200K base plus commission in the US to sell. You don't want that AE who's costing you $200,000 USD per year base plus commission to service a 10, 15K annual contract value customer. Because then the salesperson cannot justify their salary. They can't onboard so many customers. So
it reminds me of the conversation you were having with a startup before, where they were saying we need to hire X, Y, and Z, and you took them back to the basic principles, those foundational principles.
Because your startup is built on a certain cost structure.
Yeah.
And so the dilution of your ICP, the minute it happens, your cost structure completely implodes. And then you see that you are not able to grow as fast. And then the VC is sitting on, and the board meetings are not pleasant at all.
So I'm a startup. I believe I have a brilliant idea. Everybody's going to want it. How do I identify my ICP? How do I determine if there really is some other brilliant person like myself who thinks this idea just is going to skyrocket?
So first thing, I want to destroy this myth that people get idea while sleeping, right? Ideas actually come because you have experienced a pain, something yourself. So this founder I was talking to, the revenue management hotel, his idea came because his father runs 2 hotels. Mm-hmm. And during COVID, he helped automate a lot of the processes inside his hotel. And he's like, you know what? So he essentially created a revenue management software product for his own father. So that is where the idea comes from. The idea comes from something you have actually felt, a pain that you have felt. I can't sit here and feel the pain of a construction industry and make a construction industry SaaS product. I have no idea what happened in that, right? I may have an idea. I'm sure there is some SaaS product that a construction industry also requires, but I don't know the pain. So if you can feel the pain and you're building a solution for the pain, you are the ICP. You need a lookalike audience for that ICP. That's as simple as that. And the ICP by definition has to be very, very, very narrow. It should be as narrow as you can. There's a difference between ICP and TAM, and this is where the market confuses.
And TAM, do you want to walk us through that?
Total addressable market.
Okay.
TAM is what you show to the VC how large the opportunity is. ICP is where your revenue comes from. Okay. Right. So don't confuse the two. A lot of people assume ICP, they know they're different, but when they start pitching, they confuse between ICP and TAM. They're two different things. TAM is addressable market. That could be a mix of many ICPs.
Yeah.
Because there are many close substitutes to your product, to the pain that you're solving, that are also addressing it.
So we talk about like TAM and SAM. Can you walk us through some of the levels?
Yeah, so I keep it very simple. Total addressable market, and share of addressable market. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep, we will call it the sellable addressable market.
Addressable market, and then the ICP. ICP is basically the persona and the pain that you want to solve. It is not the market, right? And once you know the ICP, and you just look at how interesting this is, you have identified the persona and the pain for that individual or that opportunity, right? Then you have a marketing team. What I have seen is the persona that the marketing team wants to attract is usually different from the ICP. I'm like, no, they should be the same person, right? Why is your marketing persona different from the ICP persona? Because they will say, oh, I need to target CIOs, IT directors, CTOs. I'm like, no, the pain point is here. This is the person. Get me lookalike audience of this, right? So I have seen dilution of that definition when it goes to the marketing department. They come with more flowery language of, sociographics, psychographics, this and that, and suddenly it sounds so many words, I don't understand anything. I'm like, this is not who I was making the product for, right? So that is where I would love for founders to be very clear. Again, get first principles. You have built a product to address a certain pain. You know that pain because you have built a solution for that. Stick to that ICP in the early stages and don't dilute the ICP. Because once you know people like you in the industry, go approach them that I have solved something for myself. I think you will appreciate it. If they say yes, well, then you have a product market fit. If 10 of them say yes, right? If after a year, 10 of them actually remain with you and start spending more money with you, you definitely have a product market fit.
That's great. And then thinking about what you said with Twitter, no one in India was using Twitter. So then what do you do in that scenario?
Comes to my second favorite thing, distribution.
Okay.
So 2013, Twitter was getting some traction in the US, a little bit in Europe, not too much, almost nothing in Asia. Japan, it was getting some traction post the tsunami. So Twitter has a very interesting history with unfortunate events. Every time there's an unfortunate event, Twitter grows. So it's not a happy news product, unfortunately. So for me, it was very simple. How do you get Twitter in the hands of the average mobile user in Asia Pacific? In those days, 3G was being launched across most parts of the Asia. So hence the gatekeeper for 3G was a telecom operator. And I knew the telco space well. I said, okay, now I need to find out a value prop that I can go and tell my telco brothers and sisters why they should need to partner with Twitter when I have almost no users. Yeah. And that's where you have to be a little creative in your thinking about, okay, why would Airtel, Reliance, which is the largest telcos in India, Indosat in Indonesia, and Telkomsel in Indonesia, forget the telcos' names now in years. Basically, we partner with every telco in Asia Pacific, from Australia to Sri Lanka to Bangladesh to Philippines to Indonesia, Cambodia, India, Pakistan. Can't remember, so many. Essentially, what we did was we took the most important events that were happening in the day. All right. So for instance, 2 large events happened in 2 consecutive years. One is the Football World Cup.
Always important.
And Cricket World Cup. All right. Cricket is a very big sport in South Asia and Australia.
And for the Americans, we should translate football into soccer.
Yeah, football into soccer. Cricket another version of baseball that the rest of the world plays. More people play cricket than baseball. So FYI, there we go. But the thing is, and you've used Twitter, I'm assuming, when you go to Twitter, you don't find content on a topic. You find content across a range of topics, right? So what I told the telcos is, here's my value prop to you. When the Cricket World Cup happens, I will create a special feed which has only cricket content in it, or only soccer, football content in it for your subscribers on a special page. And every fifth tweet will be a tweet by your organization's brand handle. And it will be available to only your subscribers. Take this and promote it, because then your subscribers will be able to get the best of the live action as it is happening by the verified handles of the largest football clubs, footballers themselves, or soccer players themselves in real time, aggregated in one spot. So they don't have to go and look for Ronaldo's tweet or Messi's tweet or whatever. I'm giving you all in one place, from the broadcasters to the athletes to the the influencers in one portal. They're like, wow, this is great. And because people will want to see more of it, there are videos and images, they'll consume more data, you will increase your data consumption.
Yeah.
And that's where I will allow you to cross-promote your data products inside that feed.
So it sounds like you understood the ICP of the telcos from your prior experience, and you were able to match that or marry that with Twitter. So that was exactly a great connection of your past.
And I had telcos all across Asia doing television ads promoting Twitter. That's $50 million worth of TV inventory spent to promote my product. I'm like,
there you go. That's great. And I love how you described it as a distribution story, because it's identifying how you can get that product into the hands of the users who may not have realized they had this need, but as soon as they saw Twitter, they understood. The thing like social and Twitter and all of that is, what the world has been focused on historically, but we've got a new wave coming through of AI. So I'd love to know, as we get close to time, what are your thoughts on AI? How is that going to inform or influence go-to-market going forward?
So I'm like most people, I'm bullish on AI, but more from a perspective of it's going to redefine some processes and how we operate our businesses. It's going to make life more efficient, which may mean there'll be job displacement, not job losses, but there will be job displacement. People who are doing X will need to do Y now, right? And you need to be AI ready in your tasks and processes, whatever you're handling today. I firmly believe that. From a startup perspective, I think what I am, I'm trying to connect the dots myself. Where I have come to the conclusion is the following. If yesterday you needed a 50 people company to create a SaaS startup, you probably need a tenth of those, or maybe less than half of those, right? So you will be more efficient. So you don't need as much capital to create a product. And hence you don't need as much capital to go to market. So that's one. Which means more people will be creating more startups, because less capital is required. Even I can do it now, right? So that you will have more people with more products coming to the market, which means it will get a lot more messy to go and find your ICP, and the same ICP is going to be hit with multiple people, right? This creates an opportunity for founders, to be honest. And here is why, and I'm being very pragmatic. If you're going to create a company and you're going to say, I am going to create $1 billion ARR company, get a reality check. How many $1 billion ARR companies out there in the world? So I always tell founders, remove the revenue target from your mind. Like, this is what I want to make. I want to make $100 million ARR company. I want to be an IPO. Remove the target. You are putting unnecessary pressure to yourself that this is your target. It's good to have a goal in mind, but I think what I honestly believe is incremental milestones.
Right.
Today you're at 100K ARR. Stop thinking about 100 million ARR. Okay. Your next milestone should be, how do I get to 500,000? That's it. That your life should be consumed by just growing from 100K to 500K. Nothing else should matter to you. Don't even think about an exit right now.
You said simplify before, so you're continuing with that.
When you get to 500K, get that million ARR mark. Feel good about it. So get 1 million, get to 2 million. Don't think of 10 million yet. Get to 2, get to 5, get to 7, get to 10, right? And along the way, because you're thinking incrementally,
Yeah.
You will start fine-tuning your process, your GTM automatically. Because if you're thinking at 100K ARR, you're thinking 100 million, you just see how the mind map has to be expanded so much that, okay, I need to get to 100 million. I need to be in so many countries. I need to have so many products. I need a team of this size. I need a marketing budget of X. I need so much pipeline. You cannot comprehend the number of variables that you need to consume to get to 100 million.
Right.
But the minute I say, you know what, from 100K to 500K with this product, with 2 salespeople, with this pipeline, I can do it. Just focus on closing these number of deals. Life is about removing number of variables in an equation. Many as you can. So you can control the few variables that you can control. It's not about A plus B plus C plus 2N equal to 100. It was A plus B plus C equal to 10. I'm happy with that equation. I would rather do that equation than an infinity equation going to 100. Because you are a human, you have limited capacity and potential. Even Steve Jobs had limited capacity and potential. So does Elon Musk. And so do you. And so don't make your life too complicated about going and hitting for the moon from day one.
Great. So to summarize, what is one phrase, one sentence you would like to leave our listeners with? What's your advice for companies or startups thinking of entering the fray today?
I think from most founders will agree with this, that life is not a linear equation. Neither is startup. It's going to zigzag all the way. It's not this, right? And a lot of them will go down. And everything has a life cycle, right? So figure out where in the life cycle you are as an individual. So are you ready for that journey? Where in the life cycle is your product? Is it dying its own decaying death? And the only way to circumvent this, everything has a life cycle. The only way to avoid this life cycle of death is, and this I learned from Christian Claytonson, from the Harvard prof, is to create a new life cycle at the peak of the first life cycle.
Right.
Think of Instagram sitting on top of Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook is dying its own death. Instagram came and gave it a new life.
Right.
Something will go on top of Instagram tomorrow, WhatsApp, or something on top. You have to create those new life cycles that keep you relevant in the market.
Love it. So embrace the chaos.
Embrace the chaos.
Well, it's been wonderful speaking with you. So many great nuggets and insights into your background and how you've navigated your career, as well as just amazing value and knowledge for folks that are listening. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Wise Ones podcast. We hope you've gained some valuable insights to apply into your own journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review, and share this with your network. Stay tuned for more deep dives with the top minds, and remember, stay curious and stay wise.